This will be for the con-assignment probability and density curves. All right, so we have the density curve here, and it says find the probability that x is less than 2. What you want to remember with all of these problems, all right, if we close off this supposed curve here, the area underneath this shape is always 1. Okay, that's because this area represents 100%. So the area of the whole thing is always 1. So if we want to find the probability that x is less than 2, you just find the area of the portion that's less than 2. All right, so here's the x-axis. Here's x equals 2. So we're going to cut off this figure at x equals 2. And we just have to find the area of this here. Okay, this is a triangle. So the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Okay, remember that the base and the height are always perpendicular to each other. They always make a right angle with each other. So we can see the base of this triangle, it goes from 2 to 0. Okay, so the base is just 2. So we have 1/2 times 2. And the height of the triangle, it goes from 0 up to 0.2. So the height is 0.2. Okay, half of 2 is just 1, so those cancel, and we're just left with 0.2. So that's our probability that x is less than 2. 0.2 is actually 20%, but we don't enter it in terms of percentage. We leave it as a decimal. So you just click inside the box, and you could type 0.2, or you could even just type 0.2. All right, consider the density curve below. Find the probability that x is more than 4. All right, so you want to remember this curve goes all the way to the x-axis. All right, so the area in this rectangle here is just 1. All right, so let's see. Probability that x is more than 4. So we're just going to close it off at x equals 4. All right, here's the x-axis. This is x equals 4. And since it's greater than 4, we're looking at the portion to the right. Okay, so this rectangle here. So area of a rectangle is just length times width, or base times height. Okay, the base of this rectangle, it goes from 4 to 5. So the base is just 1. And the height of this rectangle, it goes from 0 up to 0.25. So the height is 0.25. All right, 1 times 0.25 is 0.25. All right, so these are all very similar problems. Probability that x is more than 3. So here's the x-axis. Go to x equals 3 and close it off. And x is more than 3 is to the right. Okay, so for the triangle, it's 1/2 base times height. The base of this triangle, it goes from 3 to 5. So 5 minus 3 is just 2. And as far as the height of this triangle, this right here is 0, and this is 0.5. So this right here must be 0.25. All right. So the height of this triangle is 0.25. Half of 2 is just 1, and we're left with 0.25. Click inside the box, 0.25. All right, last one, probability that x is less than 2. So here is x equals 2. You want to close this off, and the line goes to the number 1. Okay, you don't want to keep going to 0. If the line stops here on the left, then you go down from that point. Okay, so we're finding the area of this section in here. This is 0, and this is 0.75. So it looks like it counts by 0.25 each time. All right, this is 0.25. And right here would be 0.5 or 0.50. And this is 0.75. So the area of this right here, I'll do the triangle and rectangle separate. Okay, the area for the rectangle is base times height. So I am going to portion this off here. All right, we're going to do this rectangle here first. The base of the rectangle, it goes from 1 to 2. So the base is just 1. And the height of this rectangle, it goes from 0 to 0.25. So the height is just 0.25. Okay, 1 times 0.25 is 0.25. And now we also need the triangle. All right, the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. All right, we can see the base and the height for the triangle are the same as the rectangle. So the base of this triangle here, it goes from 1 to 2. It's just 1. And the height of this triangle, it goes from 0.25 to 0.50. Okay, so the height from here to here is just 0.25. All right, so it's the same base and height as the rectangle, except I forgot to multiply by 1/2. So this right here is times 1/2. So 1 times 0.25 is 0.25 times 1/2, or divided by 2. That's going to be 0.125. All right, and adding these together, the total is going to be 0.375. So just enter that in the box. All right, and that's it. If it's easier for you, you can go with fractions as well, by the way. So like, if you don't like 0.25, you could have written 1/4 times 1/2. But then, of course, you'd have to make this 1/4 as well. So 1/4 times 1/2, that would be 1/8. And you would have to make this into eighths. So 1/4 is the same as 2/8. 2/8 plus 1/8 would be 3/8. Not sure if that would help anyone. Maybe if you don't have a calculator, that would be beneficial. But it would accept, Econ does accept it as a fraction if you prefer.